All right, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Tank Talk. I am James Starr, aka Relics. With me on my right is Soviet, aka, well, Kirill Bonder, aka Soviet.
Привет.
And we also have below me here Nagatron, David Williams, who is the commander of Forge and leader of Fulcrum Gaming. So, welcome, guys. Yet another episode.
Number 5.
Yeah, we're going over the hump. So, we got a very Clan Wars filled episode for you guys today. So we'll go ahead and target some the new news. Obviously, we have 8.5 patch coming out. We have a little bit of tournament information. We'll go quite a bit into Clan Wars. And then we have two discussion topics for today. One that we missed last week, which is going to be specifically over ammunition and its differences between premium and standard. I have some ideas around that, so I'm going to put it to these two guys. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about streaming live tournament play, the effect of that on teams, and what we can do to try to increase participation, try to get a lot more of that going on. Obviously, in the light of the big Berlin challenge going on right now. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Starting out with some general news. Obviously, 8.5 came out today. So big thing with the German tanks, the new Russian tanks. I've already gone ahead and bought the Indian Panzer. Have you guys played around with patch 8.5 at all yet? Yeah, I see that dirty look, Soviet.
Oh my god.
What? I liked it.
Flying tanks already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I got it downloaded, make sure that my mods work for today, for later today especially. And other than that, no. But I did see Pico Moss play on Pearl River, and what a mess that was.
Was it?
Oh yeah.
What, the map or
The map, yeah.
battle.
No, the map.
Dude.
As we predicted, actually, David. When we were testing it the first time, we were predicting that everybody will pile up in the east, in the
That,
9-0 there,
yeah.
and yeah, that's exactly what happened. Like 4 or 5 tanks clogged up that area. They all died. Then you can barely get through them, and yeah, just a mess.
Total camp fest.
Yeah.
Total camp fest with a bunch of people piling into one lane fighting each other.
Yep.
Surprise.
Yep.
Sounds like fun. I can't wait to play it probably later tonight. um,
12 times in
yeah.
a row.
So were your mods working okay?
Sandwiched in between Malinovka and El Haluf.
Yeah, and for all of those who actually use like Yasin Krasin, that's updated. Of course, now you don't need the damage panel because you can see the damage in the game. They added that. Thanks a lot to the developers for actually putting in something more useful into the table for advanced for post-battle statistics. Otherwise, yeah, everything else. I mean, that's the only one. That's the only mod I run now, other than the sounds for the Russian voice pack.
I think I remember hearing Jackie talking about him not having to switch out any mods. I'm pretty sure. So hopefully all that still works.
Yeah, not
So
too many changes.
yeah, yeah. Um, let's see, what else do we have going on with that? They do have the big contest going on right now for German tanks, like they had with the British and all that, where if you get like the highest XP round, you'll get gold and a Type know. So again, they're flashing that Type 59 in our faces. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you go there and look at what tanks you could do and try to,
Don't play any of those tanks so I can get my Type 59.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that plan better. Never mind. Nobody play those tanks. Let's see. The other big general news that was going on was the change your password event. So if you haven't changed your password yet, go and change it now. You get 300 gold. So you get a little ka-ching. And I guess there was some kind of security breach or something around that. I never saw really any like huge specifics around it. But this is like the fastest reaction. Like this is probably like the best thing that Wargaming North America has done. Like change your password, here's some gold.
Yeah, there actually was a news article on one of the main news sites, not game related at all, just a news site on the Russian Lenta.ru is one of them that featured World of Tanks, and they mentioned a security issue at Wargaming. So you can tie the two together probably.
I gotcha. Yep.
Happens to everyone.
But hey,
Yep.
I'll take my 300 gold. I'm happy with that.
I mean, I store all my passwords in plain text, so I got I can't even finish that. At least we got 300 gold out of it. That's what I see. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta change your password anyway, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah, you're supposed
better
to
than
change it
nothing.
like every month or something like that. So yeah, In fact, I think they should do a special on this every month where they give me 300 gold just for changing my password. Just make sure I can change it back to the same one every month. Because I hate
Switch
memorizing at
between
least
two
multiple
only.
messages. Yeah, exactly.
Just increment the last character by one.
Exactly.
Duh.
Well, I guess that works too.
Security.
Yeah.
Terrible idea. Don't do it.
All right. So, and there wasn't really a lot of other general news on everything. So let's go ahead and jump into tournaments. And let's go ahead and start out with the Battle of Berlin Challenge. I mean, this is getting pretty close to the finish here. We have the big cast tonight with you and Bar going over its, I believe, Wreak Havoc and
Team Fusion.
Team Fusion? Yeah. So what's going on with that?
It doesn't get closer than this. Finals today, live casted here at 9 p.m. We're going to start a little early, around 8:30. So right after Tank Talk, we'll be going in, preparing, and going live. Of course, 10 minutes delay, but we're still going to have a little bit of a pre-show, talking about the tournament in general, summarizing it, and getting ready for this awesome matchup. Wreak Havoc versus Team Fusion. Both teams got their played very well. They deserve to be in the finals, and it's going to be interesting to see who takes the bragging rights and the 26,000 gold that's going to go to the first place. Other than that, well, there's also a battle for third place. Hammer Time and I believe Simp are going to be facing off for that. Hammer Time is a new team from, I believe it's an Anvil Forge mix, and they have been playing really well. They played well in the Fracas. They played well in the previous skirmish, I believe. So they're definitely letting the world know that they exist, and we'll see if they'll be able to perhaps upset Simp for third place.
Nice, nice. It's always good to see those new teams popping up and taking on some of the big dogs that everybody talks about all the time. So it should be both pretty good battles. So definitely everybody stay tuned for that after this episode. I think there'll be like a 45-minute break or something like that. And you guys might start a little bit early, right? You guys had some stuff you want to talk about?
Well, the thing is, yeah, we're going to start early. Our target time right now is 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And with a 10-minute delay, you guys will probably not see it until 8:40 or so, those of you on the live stream.
Don't worry. I'm sure me and David will be trolling the chat for that whole time, so we'll keep you entertained while we wait. We'll find something to make fun of Soviet about.
Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. So what else is going on for tournaments? We also have Skirmish 17 was just announced. So registration is from April 24th to April 26th, so it ends tomorrow. It's going to be a 3v3 Tier 7 max with no point limit. First to 3 on Himmelsdorf Encounter, and 5k gold for first place like normal skirmishes. So that should be pretty interesting. I'm expecting we're going to see probably, like T29s and maybe what is it, T71? The light tank with the autoloader? What do you guys think that's going to end up being? I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of T29s on Himmelsdorf for it being Tier 7.
T71's definitely an interesting tank, and for city combat, you can run away while reloading, put the buildings between you and the opponent, and just keep running. T29, interesting. I mean, yeah, definitely a good choice, I guess, for the Windows in the 1-2, right? And of course, there's Windows in the D-Row, I believe, and G-Row. So you have that possibility. Hill is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if teams utilize the hill perhaps as a rush tactic to the cap.
Yeah, definitely. And with it being an encounter, I mean, you've got time to maneuver around the map a little bit more before any kind of
from the north
happens.
coming.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, come in from the north and flank around. The north seems to be a favorite for encounter. What do you think, David?
I think it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to see one of the Tier 7 lights like you guys are talking about. At least one, maybe two, depending on what the heavy is. I would expect a heavy, though, as opposed to a medium for the third tank. Yeah. Something like a Tiger P? Tiger P's 7, right? It's not 8? Yeah, it's 7.
Yeah, it's 7.
That thing's pretty mean, man. Like, if you start bringing a whole lot of lights, it's going to be hard to penetrate that from a lot of different angles. I know when we were testing during, what was that tournament, the Mountain Pass one, penetrating the Tiger P was kind of a pain. The T29 could do it, but It just the Tiger P just wasn't worth it in that aspect. But in this, it might be. I'd still probably say T29 myself if I had to pick any of the heavies there, and then probably one maybe a
Trucks.
WZ 130.
Oh yeah.
What is the 131, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe a T71 after that. Because I think the 131 is kind of like a medium, even though it's technically a light, and that 85 mil is just awesome. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think probably the one take we're definitely going to see is that T71.
Especially when you get into 3v3s and these tier 7 tournaments in particular, as opposed to like 8 or 6 or something like that. A lot of teams have a lot of tanks ready to go with a lot of different lineups and a lot of different answers. So whatever you see in the first game or second game, I would bet amongst the good teams that they're going to be changing their lineups a lot to meta against each other. So this one should be interesting. Hard to say.
Yeah.
I can definitely see Tiger P used kind of like a KV5, soaking in those shots and then coming in with a flank with your lighter tanks. The challenge you were talking about was Nordwind Challenge, and that was on Mountain Pass, and definitely not a good place for a Tiger P there because it's big map and kind of hard to come back to the base if you have to. So we decided against it, I believe, at that time.
All right, let's go ahead and jump over to that. We have one other big tournament thing going on. Just so everybody knows, NVIDIA did extend their deadline for signing up for that. So you have till April 28th. So if you have teams going into it, make sure you get them fully signed up. They have some, like you have to put your gamer tag and some other things in there. So you just want to double check your players are all set up in that. I think we heard there were several teams that were still open. So just make sure you fill that out. So let's go ahead and dive into the big Clan Wars changes, David's favorite part of the day right now. So there's three big changes that are coming up with Clan Wars that started today. Is it down all today? I think I saw that it's
Yeah,
down
it's supposed to
today.
come back up tomorrow, but
Yeah, so starting
who knows?
tomorrow is the fun. We'll see. So we
Possibly.
have three big things coming on. We have tank locking, ransacking, and riots. So we're going to talk a little bit about each of those and kind of get David's opinion here on it since he's our kind of Clan Wars guru over this all. So let's go ahead and start about tank locking since a lot of us already know about tank locking. Let me go ahead and bring it up here. Tank locking. All vehicles destroyed in the course of a Clan Wars battle are blocked from Clan Wars for a period of time. Times listening. Hold on. Let me read that weird. The duration of the block depends on vehicle tier, type of province, and the battle results. So the key points, I didn't want to pull up the big giant chart on that. Types of tanks will unlock at different speeds. So in order of fast to slow, lights will come up first, then mediums, then tank destroyers, then artillery, and then heavies. Heavies have kind of a much longer wait. And then if you're an attacker and you're victorious, you receive extremely reduced wait times on those, going from fast to slow depending on the province. High value provinces, they come back within like minutes. Landing provinces, they probably about double than that, and then normal provinces take about 3 times the amount. And then lastly, any kind of defenders or any other types of battles unlock at probably about 3 to 4 times all of those durations. So it's extremely long duration. I want to say heavies are like 120 hours or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty long. I think I've got it up here.
120 hours.
It's
I see that. That's 100.
medium takes are 120. Heavies are 168.
I think that's minutes. Is that really hours?
I'm pretty sure it's hours. Pretty sure each of those are in hours. So that's actually really long.
Exciting.
That's hours.
Lots of excitement.
Isn't it?
It's hours.
Do you have a good nap there, Soviet?
Oh yeah.
He loves Clan Wars.
So what do you think about this?
Man.
Like, I was expecting, tank locking. Okay, you can't use that heavy tank for 24 hours. You can't use it for the next battle. Not like, so what is that? 168. That's 7 days exactly. What do you think about that, David?
Well, winning is obviously important. Well, capturing, I guess, I would say is probably most important. Like it says, if you capture the province, then your weight is a lot less. It seems like if you lose it, even defending a province, if I'm reading this right, your weight is really long. Um,
Hmm.
my thoughts on it, quite frankly, it plays directly into large clans' hands. Clans like Forge and G and Havoc and these other ones. We all have tons of tier 10s and the goal to get more. And I'm sure lots of us have tier 10s we don't even use. Or I know in Forge at least we've got a lot that have been researched that people don't use, like IS4 and stuff like that, and they didn't buy them. Now they'll buy them, and we're just going to cook up a lot of different strategies. So at the risk of taking damage and being locked out for a while, people are going to camp more. Um, the meta game behind it, I guess, is going to get nasty. And it's going to really emphasize who has more talented players in their clan over anything else. Like if it comes down to it and you're having your best strategies and your best tanks go against each other, then you need to rotate players instead of just rotate tanks. So, man, aside from that aspect, everything really got worse. Smurfing is going to be worse in a big way because it'll land a clan full of Smurfs, not alts, because there is a difference apparently in rules. And they'll knock out a bunch of your tanks right before the main clan shows up. And then what do? Your tanks are locked for 120 hours.
For 7 days.
Yeah, like I don't know. What I do know is that this is not necessarily guaranteed to stay. Wargaming isn't, from what I understand at least. I haven't been told this specifically, but this is kind of my understanding of how they do things. The metrics will decide that. So it's just like whenever they put a new tank in the game and it wins or loses a lot, they balance it based on that. Same thing's going to happen here. I think they're going to look at the situation, and in America, it's probably going to hurt a lot to Clan War situation, and then it'll eventually get pulled. In Russia and Europe, I'm not sure they have a whole lot of people and a whole lot of clans, but hopefully at least this is short-lived for tank locking in particular. The other two, not as big of a deal.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I don't know if this is just the wrong way of looking at it. Like they think it's been successful in Russia and Europe, but I feel like we're gonna just exploit the heck out of this entire thing. Like, oh, we have an encounter battle to defend, so I'm just gonna throw like this crazy strat with tanks I don't need. Rush one way, just kill as many of their tanks as I can because I know they have to win, so they have to bring their good tanks. And then on the next battle, I don't have to worry about those tanks, and we'll have a better time. Like there's so many ways that we can mess with this. That
As somebody whose job it has been to find these things to exploit them in the past, I can tell you there's a lot of different things in the works already, and it's nobody's gonna like it.
Yeah, and like you look at these new clans, like how Africa used to be, territory would switch around so much. But I mean, you're a brand new up and coming clan that lands in an Africa style territory. Like, oh yay, I hold a territory, and then you've got a couple territories. You have one battle, and you just lost all of your tanks for your entire clan, and you're not going to be on the map anymore. It just seems so, I don't know, counterproductive to what they're trying to do with getting more clans on the map.
Well, either way, I think everybody's probably already got a preformed opinion on this one.
Yeah.
Soviet?
Soviets.
Less clan war, more tournament. Good.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do, trying to scare all the new clans into doing tournaments instead.
Yes.
Effective strategy.
Yeah.
So
Let's
riots, ransack, move on.
let's go ahead
Let's
and move
move on.
on to Ransack, which is the next new mode. So immediately after conquering a province, a clan may ransack it to instantly obtain 3 days gold income. There's no cost associated with forming a ransack. The ransacked province will not bring any profit for the next 5 days, even if the ownership passes to a different clan during this period. Specific conditions to ransack a province is the ransack option becomes available the turn after the province has been conquered. No less than 5 days have passed since the previous ransack, so you can't just continually ransack a territory that's not worth anything anymore. The clan must have its HQ placed on on the map, and the province must be connected to a clan headquarters through like being next to a territory or whatnot. The usual thing with that. So ransacking. I think it's a kind of a cool concept. You're basically running around the map trying to raid people's gold. What do you think? What do you think effect this is going to have on the Clan Wars map?
Finally, especially through the various forms of diplomacy and whatnot, we're getting a little bit closer to a type of mercenary thing. You can tell another clan that they can come in there and clear out somebody that was on your landing or that had just come off your landing, and then they can ransack it and leave. There's a lot of different ways to pay people back once you can give them one dose of gold. Plus, then there's just people who more like pirates. They want to show up and sit on your 4K gold province, ransack it, and then they don't care what happens. So that's probably the cool part to me, is that smaller groups of people, if they're good at clan wars, can play for 2 or 3 days to get off a landing zone, take 2 steps, and get a good amount of gold through that, and then step off for a while. So that's pretty interesting. Confusing part is exactly when you're no longer able to ransack. I haven't seen any clear information on when that happens. I know you can take it the turn, or you can ransack it the turn after you take it, but depending on when you can no longer ransack it, you may actually be able to squeeze another day out. Because if it's 23 turns before you're not allowed to do it anymore, then you only lose 1 turn worth of gold, which on most provinces is like 10 gold, 20 gold. So you just sit there that whole time until it's just about to end, and then ransack, and then you leave. Obviously, people are going to do it in war a lot. Pretty much the whole war front's probably going to be ransacked. And then I hear it ties into the riot situation. So you can create riots and landing zones through ransacking clusters of areas, particular areas, and things like that. So that'll make alliance play very interesting, because if you're really crafty about it, I think Soviet's deliberately trying to show he's not interested.
Like, stupid clan wars.
Then
we talk about tournaments all the time. You
can find ways. You can find ways to create landing zones, either behind yourself or behind your enemy, and provided that your ally lands it, then
yeah,
that's an interesting dynamic to play with. But
we totally need to make a pirates alt clan now. Just make their tag R. Steal everybody's gold. All right, let's go on to the last Clan Wars mechanic they're adding, which we just talked a little bit about, which is riots. So riots. A riot may occur in any non-landing province on the global map. It temporarily turns the rioting province into a landing zone, which may not be attacked from the neighboring provinces, but can be landed upon by any clan not yet on the global map. The province is then considered to be rioting until the end of the nearest prime time. Up to 64 randomly picked applications may participate in the landing tournament. Chips of the applicants will return to reserve and become available again during the next turn. In order to quell riots, the owner has to deploy chips on the affected province and defeat the winner of the landing tournament. So, riots. They have a chart up talking about like the different probability increases for ransack, because it's kind of like a roll of the die of whether or not it's going to be able to be ransacked. Shut up, Soviet. So like you said, ransacking is going to do it.
Can you imagine somebody sitting there? He's like, "What should I call this meta game?" Okay, ransacking. Okay, next one, rioting. Kind of like ransacking, mutiny, kind of the same. Can you imagine the guy sitting there like coming up with all these names and all these numbers? Just, God, Relics.
I think that's what Relics does every Friday, right?
Yeah,
It is.
He goes and plays D&D.
Heck yeah. You know it. So other things that affect it are going to be like if you don't have your HQ connected to it, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It seems like it's
If there's not chips there, if your HQ isn't nearby or on it, if you haven't had any fights at all, then all these things increase the probability of being rioted. Things that decrease are like if your HQ is deployed directly on the place that's getting ready to riot, if you put a 15 stack of chips in there, if you have recently won a riot battle somewhere, or if you successfully defended in general, then all those things are supposed to decrease the riot. What I think is probably most interesting out of all the stuff that I've read here is that the participants in the landing zone tournament for the riot are randomly selected instead of first come first serve. I don't understand that at all. Granted, it's going to be hard to get up to that cap.
it sounds like that's how they did the
64 is a
original.
lot most of the time.
Yeah. It seems like it's exactly how they did the the original America's release landing, where it's just well, I
That
guess
was
that
first
was
come,
first come
first
first
serve
serve.
too.
Never mind.
It's
Wow.
as far as I know, it's always been first come, first serve.
Yeah.
So
Soviet.
yeah, I just while you guys were talking about all of this, had one of our guys from the Russian server asked him a question. When was tank locking introduced in Russia? Sorry, going back to tank locking for a second, just for a second. But in Russia, it was introduced in with patch 8.0 or something along those lines. So it's been out for a while. And he said the biggest effect it had on the map is even the biggest clan now can be just thrown off the map by an alliance of a bunch of smaller clans. They just rush in, keep locking their tanks, and going at it nonstop. So, an interesting, this is from the Russian perspective. Is it
Right.
going to happen in the U.S.? I don't know, but thought it would be interesting to point that out. And thanks a lot to Sergey from Russia.
Yeah. Thank you. Um. Yeah, I'm not sure that we have enough activity necessarily for that to be an effect for. I guess if we got enough small clans to really bum rush one of the bigger clans, but so rioting. How do you think it's going to affect the map? David, Nagatron.
Mm. I think if a clan has their gold farm rioted, it's their fault. They messed up. I think it can all be controlled, and I think the best usage of this, really the largest impact of this, is that it's going to force people to take care of the potential riots, move their chips and stuff like that, which is going to decrease the amount of land they can probably hold unless they get creative with ways to share it with allies, and that's a different metagame because allies are risking themselves. But realistically, I don't think it'll change a whole lot.
Riot.
We've kind of always found ways to get around it. What is he? That's not even a Russian piece.
It was.
I kind of imagine the whole thing like
Lend-Lease program.
the biggest effect that I was kind of envisioning doing it was the last war that we had where NDP got knocked off the map, and we got knocked off the map and all that, and we had these long stretches of territories of everybody. I imagine like there's tons of territory that just nobody is sitting on at that point, and I kind of envision like the next time there's a big war like that, that that ends up being they're pushing all their chips into into a single front, and then a riot opens up on their back, and then you have an ally just come in and drop right behind them and start knocking stuff out. Like that's kind of like the only like real application I see to everything with this. It doesn't seem like it's going to be otherwise really a big deal.
Well, it just depends. It'd be like something slipping through the cracks more realistically, or a coordinated enemy is able to tie up your chips and all your allies' chips in a way that allows the riot to be created. That's where I see it most likely showing up. As far as riots, just when you're sitting there, until we know the actual values of how much riots increase or the probability increases or decreases based on what you're doing, I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure you could orchestrate fake defenses against allies and things like that mutually across the board to decrease your riots, all sorts of stuff like that. So those values are what will determine how easy it is to stop. But my guess is unless it's going to be pure chaos and riots are going to pop up very, very easily, then it's just a matter of clans with coordination continuing their coordination and finding ways to beat it like they always have.
Yeah, they got this this like little color scheme every turn that you can see what territory, like if it's gone up or down in writing. I just keep envisioning like an RTS strategy, like this one went up, or this one went down, so I need to move my chips over here, or this one went up, so I can take my chips off of that, and it's like just going to be this weird, awkward balancing game of moving chips around for no apparent reason. Just to make sure the chance goes back up to where it needs to be to acceptable levels.
Yeah,
Well, that's what'll happen on the farms when nobody's moving, yeah. For sure.
All right, well we'll get off of Clan Wars now because Soviet's getting a little teary-eyed.
I was just chatting up with the guys and saying, if you ban Facebook and Twitter, your riot chance goes down by 25% in the territory. Bam! Just like that. Problem solved.
Handle it like Korea.
Like Egypt. Egypt,
Oh, yeah,
did,
yeah,
I
there
think,
you
as
go.
well.
Egypt.
Yeah.
How can we quell rioting?
They're hiding radios in North Korea. They don't have Facebook and Twitter. Just like,
Yeah, but we could pretend you're like the god of Forge, and nobody can pay attention to any kind of propaganda, and we have to play you up. It stops writing. All right, we will get off of Clan Wars now.
What? That was that supposed to make sense?
It makes sense.
Whatever.
Kim Jong Il, he's a god. And.
Relics making
All
sense
right.
since 1930.
I make sense to
Oh, I see.
myself most of the
I see
time.
what you're
You
trying
see
to
where I
say.
was going with it now?
Yes, yes, I do also make the weather and enjoy your delicious soybean paste.
Yes, yes. See.
Change topics.
All right, so that's it for Clan Wars then. It'll be interesting to see how this goes in the next couple weeks. Maybe we'll talk about it for like a brief moment in a couple weeks to make sure Soviet doesn't kill himself over it. Um, let's go ahead and move on to our discussion topic. So, uh, the first one we wanted to go into is ammunition. We had some talks about this in the one of the Skype channels that we have, and we were talking a lot about how the differences between premium ammunition and regular ammunition, and how there's such a huge difference. Um, I mean, what do you guys think? Wow, that's a lot of crazy faces. Is that an orc face? What's going on here? It's like a face war. What have you people done? People are gonna look at this VOD and be like, "Why are they all cracking up over random things?" It's
We need to
because
put a
chat.
we need to edit it into the pane so you have chat in the bottom. Otherwise, I have no clue what Soviet and I are almost always laughing about.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
All
so
the good
difference between
times.
premium and standard ammunition, too large of a gap. We've kind of covered this one before. It's a pretty big gap, especially when the jump is from AP to heat. I think I've ranted about heat and the strange balance of heat before.
Just to drop
So
a couple examples so that people know what we're talking about. I have a couple of pictures there of two tanks. First of all, we have the T-69, which is a great example. You can see their AP round at the top, their heat round at the bottom, and the penetration difference here is just monumental. It's over 100 difference. The heat is its minimum is the maximum that an AP one can do. Another example here that everyone loves and hates is the M4 Sherman. You got the howitzer on there, and you have the difference between an HE shell that does practically nothing against other Tier 5 tanks, and then you have the heat shell, which is just like crazy, phenomenal, overpowered, everybody hates
and loves
and loves.
simultaneously.
But you figure like a newer player coming in and playing this game, and they get up to the Sherman and they get the derp, and they're like, I have to spend how much to use these premium rounds? And they're like, oh, I'll just use the HE instead. And then they get like the worst tank ever shooting just HE rounds. I mean, do you think it seems like it's a monumental gap that shouldn't be there to me? The more I think about it.
Well, not every tank is supposed to be awesome, right? I mean, there has to be certain aspects of every tank, right? You have to learn the tank, you have to know its strengths and its weaknesses. T69 has one, M4 Sherman has one. There's other weaknesses that other tanks have, armor layouts, ammo rack, things, like that. So, don't you think, what's the big deal?
Well, so taking it with that, I mean, should the difference be between having a chance to do damage and not having a chance to do damage? Should 4,000 credits be that big of a difference on any tank? And being able to like learn on a tank, taking the T69 for example, anybody trying to learn that tank using AP rounds versus the heat rounds and going into like tournaments or anything else, that's a huge gap. That's a huge learning curve that you have to overcome with either throwing more credits or gold at it or just kind of dealing with it. My kind of thinking on the whole ammunition thing was, a lot of these games where you have these like big premium things is, it's not so much of a giant gap. I mean, the difference between paying more and doing regular is usually a smaller margin. Like it's something to make it good, and it's something like when you're going into a pro scene or clan wars or anything like that, you want to spend the extra to get the best out of it, but it shouldn't be that big of a gap. So my thinking was that, and this is probably kind of going along with all the other balancing that needs to get done, but taking like you have a single gun, and instead of having 3 different ammunition types, you have the 2 different ammunition types picked for that gun. So like you have this gun does AP and HE, and then you have a premium AP that's like 10 to 20% better rather than 50 to 100% better. That I think for myself, I think something balancing around that, and that should make balancing each take individually a lot easier, because then you're not looking at, okay, the Sherman Derp has this 150 extra pen just from switching to this premium ammunition.
I think part of the reasoning there, though, is is to have a rationale behind why one round is so much better than another. So it goes from AP to APCR specifically to kind of give that a reason. Now, if there's too much of an imbalance between the two of them, that's a different story. But it's part of one of those things that pops up with tanks here, where they're trying to ride a line between realism and arcade, and sometimes weird things get caught up. I think probably the most valid point you had there was the difference between HE and heat on like a derp Sherman. Unless you pay the extra amount, you can't use the gun to its full potential. However, with that gun, I mean, if you hit your shots, you get all your money back. But I still see that as kind of a valid point.
Yeah, that kind of goes into the balancing of the other tanks. I mean, yeah, you get your money back with using the HE rounds, but were you effective in that match using the HE rounds versus using the heat rounds? Were you going to have that much of an effect on the battle just, spamming HE?
I mean, what you're talking about is good for balance for sure, I believe. But it's up to wargaming to decide really how realism or how realistic versus or how historical versus how arcade they want to get. I think really the biggest imbalance between all ammunitions is just heat in general, in my opinion. I mean, I've talked about it before. A lot of those numbers were calculated specifically due to the shell normalization that they had at the time, and how heat didn't normalize, so it needed more pen, and so it was comparable to APCR. But now that normalization is down, those numbers haven't been revisited, so heat is just crazy overpowered compared to APCR in a lot of instances. There's positives and negatives. I mean, heat is generally slower and et cetera, but I still think the pen can be reevaluated from personal experience.
Yeah. All right.
Soviet.
Do you have any other thoughts, Soviet? Go ahead and add in.
Well, now that we have ammo for credits, I don't know. I just can't think of, when it was gold, yes, that's just completely, you're kind of forced to it, right? But now if you manage your economy right, you can still do it. It's accessible to anybody. Don't you think?
Anybody with premium, yes. But we're used to playing with premium, so it's like I could shoot all gold and I still make my money. And then it's like, well, what if you don't have premium and you're already scraping by? Like, you don't have premium and you're not super good at the game, and you're not really, really good at penetrating what you shoot at, then you're already in kind of an economic crisis. I hear people complain about that all the time, trying to save repair bills and things like that. So I think that is less an issue for us, but I think it is a larger issue for a bigger demographic than we're aware of.
Fair enough.
Cool. Any other comments from either of you on that? Ready to move on?
I think Wargaming has done a great job monitoring stats in the past, and like David said, it's going to be up to them to decide to make the final decision. And there's only a few exceptions, don't you think? There's only a few tanks that we can name right off the top of our heads, saying that they have a serious gap between one type of ammo and another.
Yeah. Konish. Derp. Yeah. We can probably be pretty specific on which ones have the differences.
And it's not like every tank in the game has that. It's the derp tanks are, as you said, the M4 Sherman is a good example. The KV2, right? So you have all these derp gunners, and everybody knows about them now. By the time they get into those tiers, most likely they have already been exposed to what that tank does, or what that tank is famous for in the game, at least, and they'll know what's coming. I hope.
Hopefully. All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll move on to our next subject. So this is kind of becoming a big thing with tournaments. And obviously already overseas, you can sit around all day watching tournaments from Russia. I actually haven't seen too much from Europe, but I know they are doing the streaming for them, but with the major leagues and everything. So I wanted to talk a little bit about streaming live tournaments, the effects specifically on the team, and the different ways that we can maybe encourage people to start doing that. So let's go ahead and start with the effects on the team. Obviously, us as Fulcrum, we've been in 2 to 3 live tournaments. I think like 3 live tournaments now, right? We've done a bit of streaming. Um, I think as far as our team goes, it's been a pretty positive reaction to it. What do you guys think is like the big negative that a lot of teams are getting right now? Because we are getting a lot of pushback on like picking up for some of the Berlin stuff I was hearing, and I'm sure we'll get some more in the future here. The Nvidia one that's coming up is going to be one that it's going to have to be cast, so it's something people are going to have to get used to. Um, what do you guys think is the big negative that's pulling these teams away from wanting to be streamed? Sovietsky?
I think it's a lot of teams haven't been exposed to it. They're not. They don't even know what it means. They don't even know what it means to be streamed, and they're scared of it. When you don't know what does that mean, let you in on my team. What does that mean? That's it scares people away in that regard. But from all the teams that have done it, I think they love the way it comes out. It gives them a lot of visibility on the internet, a lot of visibility in the community. Here, watch our tournament. This is my team in this tournament right now. In the past, we have had so many tournaments, so many skirmishes, and what do we have out of them right now? We have a page somewhere in the back of the worldoftanks.com portal that says, oh, so and so won this game, and so got the first place, second, and third. But no actual recorded fights, no actual this. We had such an awesome fight in round 2 of this game. Go watch it on YouTube. It's there. That's all missing. And once we have more of these tournaments, once we have better understanding in the community that streaming and live casting and having this available to everybody is going to make the community better, make the games more competitive, more exciting to watch and to replay afterwards for the teams that played in the game. A lot of teams, I'm sure a lot of teams like on Tuesday, Wreak Havoc, right, versus Simp. I'm sure both of those teams came back and watched those games and were like, oh man, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. Yes, they have the ability to do it with the replays already, but having it live casted, having that third person, those commentators talking about what's going on, and having all those viewers that can share the viewport and see what was going on, just adds so much more to the way the community interacts that I think there's nothing but positives. Just a matter of maturity in our community, and I hope with Battle of Berlin being more being seen by the U.S. community, by the North American community, more and more teams will realize this.
Yeah, and hopefully they're seeing the positive feedback on their teams from themselves being casted. What do you think, David? What do you think is really preventing a lot of teams from just saying, yes, please stream me?
Two things. One, potential for embarrassment. Nobody wants to lose in front of everybody, let alone if you make a gigantic mistake, which everybody does. Everybody does all the time. Best teams lose over the stupidest things. And the other part is just, the strategic risks of people seeing what you're doing, your positions, these kinds of things, how you think, like how you move through the map, that kind of business. But the way I feel about that is if somebody watches your stream and then makes really bold moves off of it, like they see that you leave the field open, so they just rush a medium really far in the field, expecting you to do exactly what you did on the stream, that's showing you a distinct lack of respect as a strategist. And if people do that, then continue to get yourself streamed, expect them to do it again, and set a nasty trap for them to teach them a lesson that you don't stream snipe people. It doesn't work. Play the game like you have no idea what's coming, because you don't. People in the past, we've gotten a hold of replays and things like that where in tournaments, people used to trade replays, like somebody camped or something. So whoever lost to them sends everybody their replays. And people use that to create strategies to break them. But I can't think of a single time where we've actually taken any sort of information about what somebody else is doing and then plotted on it like we knew for certain that's what they were going to do. It's another bit of information, but you should never act on it that that confidently, and hopefully people will be okay with being streamed. And then if somebody starts stream sniping them, which is the term for that, that they'll just turn the tables on them, and that person will get punished.
So, what's the big strength you think that the European and Russian teams have that makes it so that seemingly streaming doesn't bother them at all anymore? Like it
They
just seems like it's there.
Well, Soviet is definitely experienced to talk about this. Let's start with him.
I think the biggest strength it gives them is they come into the game and they take one game at a time, and they assume that the enemy knows everything about them. Let's say they play to the best of their ability, and they start playing metagame from game one. That's it. They go in there. There's no, oh my God, I have the super strategy that's going to work every time, and we're going to run it 15 times in a row in this tournament, and it's going to win us this tournament. Nothing like that at all. The game changes every time, and it makes it exciting for the viewers. It makes it exciting for the teams because there's no, like David was saying, any team can lose. Best players, whatever, doesn't matter. Any team can lose in World of Tanks, and this is what makes World of Tanks so interesting and exciting to watch. Because one bad move, one unlucky bounce, unlucky shot placement, and all of a sudden you lose. That's it. Of course, it's best out of three usually, so that gives the team an ability to come back, and there's been some exciting comebacks already in the Wargaming League in Russia, in Europe, and here in the U.S. We've had a lot of exciting stuff. If you saw us at WCG, we came back literally from being out of it to actually place in that tournament. So that's the beauty of World of Tanks, and I think having been exposed to streaming from a much earlier stage in Russia and Europe, teams are realizing this a lot more now, that you cannot come in with a static strategy. You cannot make assumptions that, oh my God, we're going to be stream sniped, right? So it made the game better, and teams better.
Yeah. So definitely the key thing for our North American teams right now to take away, and really what's going to be required for them to step into the international scene against Europe and Russia, is that we need to be a lot more fluid in the tactics and strategies that everybody's seeing, because we still hear a lot of the static stuff like you were talking about, where this is my strategy and this is what I'm going to do, and I hope nobody sees it, and that just needs to go away, and more plan on that internal meta of knowing specifically where different positions are and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the terms, the big terms that you guys both mentioned and I see in chat is just fluidity and dynamics. They're willing to go out there with a loose idea of what they want to do. Like, we're going to go to Delta Village and Ruinberg and Spot and try and hit things with artillery. But then when you listen in their comms or whatnot, it's not like they have set plays for everything. Everybody just knows what to do, and it's something that's well, they do or they don't. Obviously, when they lose, they didn't know what to do. But that's something that we're all very strict and uptight in the U.S. right now. People camp a lot, and that's I mean that's a clear indicator that you're not comfortable going out there and playing. And I think in Russia and Europe, they've seen their camping, they've seen their derp rushes and all the other types of gimmicks you can have, and eventually people realize that really good teams, more often than not, will beat that stuff. And on top of it, nobody wants to sponsor the teams that you can't respect. And sponsors look, and if people out there tell them that this team just camps, and anytime they won, somebody went to them and just messed it up, things like that, they're less likely to get that backer, I think. So everybody plays faster because it's in everybody's best interest. If I camp you, you camp me, we all hate life. That's how I see it. So hopefully as everybody gets a little bit more comfortable, especially in the 742 format, we'll see a lot less of that. Now that I mentioned it, I think that's another kind of aspect. So everybody's really awkward in 742 right now. They don't really know what to do. So we haven't gotten to play a lot of it. And for some reason, people didn't necessarily participate in the scrimmages that were available at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. So it will change. It has to. And if it doesn't, and some people out there are just known to hard turtle all the time and sit in a corner and do nothing but, and they can get by with it, I would guess that other teams just start rallying and telling everybody that they're doing it and teaching them how to break it, because nobody's going to tolerate it after a while.
Yeah.
What I want to add to this is I think it's kind of a false assumption that in order to win in tanks, you have to camp. A lot of newer teams, I think, assume this, and right now, day after day, and I mean every day. Sorry, we get we see that, especially the Russian teams, they know whoever attacks first, they're actually rushing to attack first because they know once they take initiative away from the enemy, they can win the game. So you'll see two teams trying to get into a favor. Of course, it has to be a favorable engagement, but they want to be the first one setting the tone. The moment they get into an engagement, usually 90% of the time, the team that started the engagement first would come out on top. This is what we have seen. We can see you can watch all the video that's available already on the internet from overseas and even here. Finally, things in the U.S. are starting to look up better. Teams are starting to be more aggressive. Look at if you want to see proof. Look at Wreak Havoc versus Simp. Great games, very aggressive. I think all battles were over in under 7 minutes. So, and these teams are top teams in North America. Other teams prefer to camp. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Until they realize it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. And hopefully, as the North America market grows with the tournaments and everything, that's where the streaming, and definitely if your teams want to get streamed on any of these tournaments, feel free to ping any of us, and if we're doing anything for that, I mean, we'd love to cast a lot of different games and stuff like that. We have the NVIDIA thing we'll be casting quite a bit of. I mean, hopefully this will start picking up really good, and teams will get more comfortable with streaming. If anything, it can't hurt you. It can only help you, get comfortable with where the scene's going to go. And just to apologize, everybody, real quick, this is not a cigarette commercial. So this is Tank Talk. The weird robot noise that is Soviet, that's accidental. Sorry about that.
What happened?
Cigarette commercials were there. Got the thing on the news. All right. Weird looks from...
Is Relics drunk today? Like,
I'm making like terrible jokes all day that nobody understands.
Go home, Relics.
Just today?
Go home, you're drunk. All right. So the second part of that... The second part of that, so what kind of incentives do you think that Wargaming can put out to try to get teams to do more streaming now and start getting into it? Do you think there's something they can do to try to encourage it?
Only one incentive, a solid rule that you are going to be casted if we wanted to. That's it.
So there you go. Soviet wants it in writing. You have to be casted. What do you
This
think?
is no democracy.
I think there are incentives that Wargaming could put out, but I don't think that's necessarily their responsibility. I think everybody needs to wake up and realize that tanks, if it weren't for IPL's downfall, would already be a pro league esport, and it's coming up on that again. So if you want exposure, if you want a chance to literally play a video game for money, then you probably want to get widely known right now. So it really can't hurt if everybody sees you play. Just a thought. I'm pretty sure the incentive is there. People just need to wake up, see it.
Yeah. Cool. All right, that's it for we have for discussions for today. So let's go ahead and hit up into Q&A. No, I did not mess with your audio, Soviet. I see you asking that.
Okay, it must be your dial-up then.
It's something with your Skype.
Oh yeah, my Skype. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
definitely
It
your
was.
fault. It is not
I have
mine.
the stream muted and I heard it.
See? Uh-huh. Oh, it's all Soviet now.
Bunker getting DDoS.
All right, so Q&A. Well, Jung Laden has a nice big question there. I'm going to assume this is a good question. All right, I've gotten extremely used, so first of all, this is Jung Laden. I've gotten extremely used to playing heavy tanks, being on the front lines and bouncing shots. I've been trying to play more medium. Do you have any general advice on playing medium tanks effectively? For example, people often refer to mediums as flankers. Do you have any tips on performing flanking maneuvers? How do we get the timing right down? Who wants to tackle that?
Generally with mediums and light tanks and whatnot, unless you look at a situation and you know you can win it and that you have to win it, you basically are just there to harass them when they're not looking at you anymore. At some point, they can sit there and camp a corner all day, but they're going to start getting shot from other angles. Somebody else is going to move on them. And if that wasn't the case, they'd probably just come right around the corner and kill you anyway. So this is the kind of scenario that you're looking at. They've either got to cross some sort of large open field or come around a corner under fire. At some point, they're not going to look at you anymore because they can't. And then you poke out and you shoot them again. Your goal is to not get shot and harass everybody you come across. And then at some point, there may be a situation where like the area you're in is already winning, like you've got 2 enemy tanks left and 5 teammates, but some other place needs your help. You flex and go over there. Your job is to be dynamic, get wherever you're needed, and make people turn their cannons and harass them.
Cool. Do you have anything to add to that, Soviet?
Well, one thing as a medium I usually do is I wait for the fight to start before I actually show myself ever. So pick the fights on your terms. Set your terms to be, I'm gonna let the heavy lifters, let's say, the heavy tanks, get into engagement. Once they're all tangled up, that's when I roll in. That's when I try to establish a cross shot or something that makes the enemy tanks either turn to me or continue the engagement and ignore me. Both of which are good for our team. So that would be my little summary. But watch our stream. Watch how we play. I mean, a good example would be FCM50T. I play that a lot on the stream. You guys would probably have seen it, and it plays like a medium. You kind of do the same things.
All right, let's go ahead and jump on another question here from our big fan, I am Crisis, or I'm Crisis. We'll just call him Crisis. I think that's what we always call him.
Crisis.
Crisis. So, what do you think about wargaming giving players XP for potential damage received, i.e. potential damage received equals the HP pool equals XP? He gives some calculation. Don't we already get something for getting shot at? I thought if you take damage, you get some sort of XP as well. No? I thought that was in... I never really looked thoroughly through the calculations for what you get XP for. I thought that was part of it. I mean, I'm fine with it, because I get a lot of games where I've like taken 4 to 6k potential damage from bouncing or artillery.
I think it is factored somewhere.
I thought it was. Soviet, do you know? No? Of course not.
I actually don't. I just play the game.
I only look at damage scores, nothing else. That's all that matters.
Damage scores, made shots.
How many times did I hit?
How bad is Relics today? That's all that concerns my
The answer's always
game.
Very bad.
Yep, pretty much.
Let's see, what else do we got here? And nobody's paying attention to the other chat, so I have no idea whether or not there was questions taken down from earlier. That is a totally inappropriate question.
Yeah.
I actually don't see a lot. Anybody else with any other questions going on here? What do you think about the Leopard 1? We've talked about that a little bit. I thought it was a fun tank. It's pretty fast, but I think it'll be a pub stopper situation like the E50M. What do you guys think of it?
I think other tanks do everything it does. That's what I think.
T62A.
I don't think it's... There's the other question. How will it be used in Tier 10 tournaments? I don't think it's going to be used in Tier 10 tournaments. I think there's too many other better tanks, T62A or Batchat, that could be used in its place.
I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, though. So it's kind of hard to say. There's definitely situations where you get on the right map and certain tanks are the right height and have the right depression for things. So it may be one of those. But when I played it on the test server, it wasn't anything particularly special. I thought, at least.
Yeah. Let's see. Another question from Crisis. Naga's beard or Relics thing? I have a beard. He has like a chin strap or something. That's not a beard. Get it right, Crisis. Soviet, nice beard.
Thank you.
Baby face.
It's going to repeat a Crisis comment for last time, but I'll be nice.
Hey.
Screenshot
my
it.
head is perfectly round.
I didn't know eggs could grow beards.
Sparky, we haven't done anything on the skirmishes. I'm not sure if we're going to probably pick up any skirmishes for it. We are going to be looking to do some pretty consistent streaming, and actually skirmishes wouldn't be a bad a bad way for us to do some casting, since it's every single week. But definitely stick around. We do have a tourney stream tonight for the Battle of Berlin, so don't go anywhere. It's like 45 minutes or something away.
Yeah, for the Battle of Berlin, we're actually going to start a little earlier today. Today is the final battle, and it's going to be a good one. So we're going to start early, go do a little bit of a recap of the whole tournament for those of you that are going to be joining us for the first time, and of course set the stage for this fight between Wreak Havoc and Team Fusion.
Mm-hmm.
Look forward to it, and we're gonna try to. Our target time right now is 8:30 to start with a 10-minute delay. You guys will probably see the stream going live at around 8:40 Eastern time. Bunker time.
D-Day Sword has a question. Where did Relic the clan get its name? You'll have to go back and look at an old episode of Clan Wars in 45 seconds to find that out. Let's just say Lazarus is in love with me. It's my token clan. Or tribute clan, I think it was. There was a question in here somewhere. Tofu Smurf, seriously opinions on the new German Tier 7 light tank. It's the only thing he has researched, so he was curious. That's the one that's like a giant brick.
That was the
wasn't
Elf
it?
Clatterings one that we hated, right?
Yeah, the really big one with like a tiny little turret, tiny little head. It was terrible. We'll just put it that way. It was terrible.
Hated it.
It was a chubbier VK 2801. Grumpy, I don't remember which episode it's from. There was a lot of Clan Wars in 45 things.
Thank you for everyone. If you were a tank, what tank would you be?
Oh.
Relics?
What tank would I be?
What's the worst tank in the game?
Yeah, that.
The duck. The German, the French duck.
Yeah.
The B1.
I think I would go with
Whatever it is.
like a T-92 or something, so that I can bomb Soviet's house. I think that works for me. Something with big explosion.
I would say if I were to lay down on the ground, I would look something like a Tog 2.
Interesting.
That's a good description. Soviet would be like a T2 if he was doing the same thing. He's only like 3 feet tall, just in case you guys didn't know. 3 feet tall, baby face.
Says Relics.
I just thought of some other. Never mind.
They were gonna cast him on the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but he didn't make it.
But for me, I'd rather be a T-34-85 or something like that. An iconic tank.
Yeah.
Fits my personality, right, guys?
An iconic tank that there's thousands and thousands made of. All the same.
It is an iconic tank still.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
One of the best tanks in history.
Okay.
Of the world.
Uh-huh.
That you live on. Right now.
Right now? This
For
world?
now.
For now. Kayla, Indian Panzer question. What play style will y'all play in this tank? Sniper or combat support? Definitely sniper. That thing is crazy accurate, but you do not want to be anywhere close to any kind of combat. I've been playing that quite a bit today and not having the best time.
It can also hull down pretty well, especially if you get like the rounded portion of the hull popping up.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll give this a few more minutes. This is at least mostly entertaining. Yeah, that's what I was going for. I was calling him an Oompa Loompa.
Who, me?
Did you miss the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory reference? Is that like outside of your Russian, knowledge base?
Charlie and who?
You don't know the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
I think the weird movie with like a kind of a. I'm not gonna criticize it.
The Candy Factory. It's a classic.
You must be thinking of the new one, because the old
If you-
one's glorious.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, the old one. I think I did see
Except
the
for
old
that
one.
tunnel
Yeah.
scene. Like, what the hell was that about? Saw it again as an adult, and I was like, "What the? I saw this as a kid."
Why is he
Explains
tripping out
so
like that?
much. Explains so much.
We'll have to get Soviet a copy of that. They must not show movies that often in Russia.
What is movie?
He's limited to watching that guy that does the singing over and over again. The troll guy. He's Russian, right?
Was.
Was, yeah. That's right. I did a tribute to him too.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Heal.
What is this moving picture, comrade?
Okay, one of the questions was who we're going to be casting the tournament from. From whose viewpoint? It's going to be Team Fusion for this time. We did Wreak Havoc last time, so trying to switch things up. Team Fusion is going to be our point of view, and hopefully we'll have access to TeamSpeak as well, so you'll hear their comms, and it will be an exciting match. I look forward to it. We're going to be probably wrapping up here soon and starting to prepare right away for Battle of Berlin finals coming up.
Yeah. So did you leave Shaggy in the Mystery Machine there, David?
Fail. Because I'm supposed to be Shaggy. So I left myself in the Mystery Machine.
Crap.
Nice job.
Scooby-Doo is
You meant Scooby.
I meant Scooby.
And I would never leave Scooby anywhere. 'Cause he's my buddy. We go looking for food for ambiguous reasons.
It's amazing how well that character stands up to you. We won't
Don't
go into
even
that.
start.
We won't
Don't
go
even
into that.
start.
Quiet, John. I mess everything up. It's because it's live. That's all. Why don't you alternate each game? That's probably just simply because logistics. I mean, it's just Soviet casting right now, or not casting, but running the system from his side. So it's a lot harder for him to, jump between. He's got to jump out of this battle into somebody else's battle and back and forth. It probably just logistically isn't something easy for him to do. Plus, you have to get both teams willing to cast, which is, again, not always the easiest, right, Soviet?
Yeah, definitely a problem here on the North American server. And as far as the scale is not the right, this is our first attempt at casting overall, and the scalability right now, the tools that are available to us as casters are very limited. We have to come up with very creative ways to try to put together even what you see right now, and have decent quality of of the picture and everything. So hopefully we have been promised in perhaps July or something, better tools will come, better capabilities will come to cast and to spectate matches.
Yeah, I just got a comment that the casting that we have in North America side with like what Soviet's doing. I mean, considering what we have right now, tools available is phenomenal. I mean, when you go to look at the Russian side, as David's trying to explain in chat here, they have like an entire team. You have the two casters doing it, and then you have like a group behind them that are actually doing the video stuff all the time. So I mean, that's why their production is so good, because they have full teams doing it, and we got one guy doing all the video work on the back end, which I mean, me and David know, Soviet knows now. Handling video work and casting at the same time, not necessarily the easiest thing. It gets a little distracting. So
it's a big step up just to be able to not have to be in training rooms and run the tournament from there or anything. We're coming a long way though, and Wargaming is helping out and coming out with new systems, so it's easier to cast. And from what I understand, the spectating is going to get even better. You'll be able to see both teams and whatnot. So looking forward to that.
Yep. All right, let's give it just another minute here, see if anybody else has any questions. We'll go ahead and cut off so that Soviet can go and prep for his Berlin cast.
Definitely.
I think we might actually not have any other questions going on. They're just people talking.
Avast virus database has been updated.
Yeah, Whiskey, that's such a pain.
FYI,
Don't forget to shoot the T1, and T1 chasing you and spraying you with the Hispano Suiza. Kill me. We couldn't type in chat either, so we couldn't be like, please God, kill me, or just like chasing you around.
Yeah. FYI, everyone, my Avast database is updated now. I need to turn that off. You just sprayed chat with it.
Nally, we actually have some improvements, some things we've taken from the Russian stream and whatnot, trying to get a good mod pack going for the NVIDIA tournament. So you should be able to see when both sides are lit, and we'll hopefully have a guide so you can understand when you see it on the map what that looks like. But both teams' mini-maps should be displayed. Should be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see what you're making out of that. Yeah, a lot of good innovations coming. with how to see everything. I think it's going to make viewing it all much more exciting and much more easier to understand what the heck's going on instead of just seeing a bunch of colors everywhere and being like, I have no idea who sees who or what's going on or what's important. Alright. Yes, there are games tonight, Knock, in about 30 minutes or so.
Okay.
I think we're done.
Relics.
You
Yeah.
good?
Yeah. How long do you want to stretch this, man?
I'm just going to keep stretching it. I'm enjoying my drink, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll go ahead and end it there. So big thanks to Kirill Bondar, Soviets, and David Williams Nagatron for joining me today. I am Relics James Starr, and we'll pick this back up in probably about 30 minutes with the Berlin cast with Wreak Havoc up against Team Fusion. And Soviet and Barn will be, of course, be casting that, so stick around. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. If you missed any of this, we will have it up on our YouTube channel at Fulcrum Gaming TV, and we'll have some stuff on that. We also have our Facebook, so feel free to follow us. And Soviet is a jerk. Yeah.
I'm excited about Battle of Berlin. Stick around, guys.
I'm excited about Battle of Berlin, other than you casting it. All right, guys, everybody have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.